Oh, what a way to start off the video. I kicked the tripod. Hi, everybody. I'm Angela. Welcome to my channel. My very first video on my new channel. So, welcome. Hope you enjoy. So, today we're going to talk about books because books. And I can't think of anything I love more. And there's nothing I like talking about more. And so I'm going to go through all of the books that I read in December of 2022. I read 15 books. It was a heavy reading month. It was a very cozy reading month. And I've just really been lucking out on my book selection. I feel like I've loved almost everything that I read in December. And there were a lot of firsts. So it was like a very experimental and I don't know. It was a month of growth in my reading journey, I think, just trying new things. And I just enjoyed it so much. And I will be telling you a little bit about it, but let's get going with the books. Okay, this is the stack of books that I read in the month of December. I have them all except one, which I have lent out to a friend of mine. So, oh my gosh, this stack. I've knocked this over a couple times already. Let's try not to do this again. Oh, wasn't it beautiful? Oh my God. I love it. Oh my God. So I'm gonna put these on the table here. They almost fell again. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm gonna try to tell you a little bit about the books, not much. I don't want this video to be like 2 hours long or anything. Tell you a little bit about the book, maybe where I found it or who referred it to me, and we'll go from there. Okay, and these are in no particular order at all. I was all over the place in the month of December, and I just, I had a little bit of everything, so it was just so exciting. Okay, so the first one, the top of my stack, is the Celestine Prophesy. And this is by James Redfield. This was referred to me by a colleague at work, Claire. Thank you, Claire. This, oh my gosh, this is an adventure book. And it's hard to describe this one. In short, it's for those who are like me. I love the metaphysical studies, like energy and the power of intention, the power of like your words and your energy and your just manifesting things into your life. This is kind of what that's about a little bit. So basically it follows this guy who meets up with a friend of his that says, hey, there's this manuscript in Peru. They're trying to keep it undercover, and it will like change the world. And they're trying to, the government and the church is trying to stop the manuscript from being well known because they don't want it to change the culture of the world. So he gets really curious about this, says, hey, I want to know more about this. And there are 9 parts to this manuscript that are spread out all over the place. And each part is called a insight. So she was able to provide him the first insight, what the first part of the manuscript says. And everything as he travels and goes on this journey in Peru, each insight unfolds in order. And it's hard to explain how, but like one of them would be like coincidences, like paying attention to your gut instinct and seeing that things are not coincidences, paying attention to that and following it. And I mean, there's just like guns, the government, the church, people are getting killed. He's running, getting shot at, making friends, making enemies. It's just really adventurous. And he's going through and collecting these 9 insights and becoming more spiritually evolved. And it's just, it was so fun. I sped through this in like a couple days. Actually, he let me borrow his book, and before I even finished it, I ordered my own copy because I need to have my own copy. So I'm definitely going to read this again at some point so that I can put my tabs and annotate it the way I like to. And that's why it's hard when someone gives me a book to borrow and I really like it. I can't annotate it on site. Like, I have to like keep a separate notebook or just get my own copy and say, take your book, I'm gonna continue with mine so I can mark it up. So, and because I went through it so quickly that by the time this came in the mail, I was already finished with the book. So, highly recommend, love it. It was fun, it was easy, loved this book. Okay, that's one. Next is a book of poetry. This one is Ashes of Her Love. And this is by Pierre Jeanty. This is a book of poetry, like I said, and a lot of it, I think the whole thing is about heartbreak. And not so much that someone broke your heart. It's more like you decided to leave a relationship go for certain reasons, or just dealing with that. And this is something that I really related to. And it spoke to me, and I just really enjoyed it. This book, I actually found like through Facebook. There was, every once in a while, there would be an excerpt from one of these poems, and I'm like, I need to find this book and go and read the rest of these poems, because all of these times it would come up on Facebook. I was like, oh, that's just really how I feel. I need that book. So I'll share one poem with you that I tabbed that I was really able to relate to. This was a past relationship where I ended it not because I did not love the person anymore at all. It was, I just was still in love with the person when I ended the relationship. But I needed something different, I guess, something. But anyway, this one is called Wanting Better. She did not just fall out of love. She was constantly pushed over the edge, weak from the tireless attempts to save the very thing you kept killing. She did not fall out of love. Her heart was deprived of everything good she brought to the table, until her malnourished soul learned that it's better to lose a love story than to end the story of her own love. She did not fall out of love. She kept tripping over the knives your tongue set on the path and bled too much to find strength to get up. She did not fall out of love. She fell in love with wanting better. So that's how these poems are. Very simple, very heartfelt, very, very true. So definitely something you can't appreciate unless you're going through it, whether you're in the midst of it or you're thinking about it, or, you know, but this means nothing. If you're in a happy relationship, if you're just not in a relationship and you're just chilling, don't pick this up. Just don't. It's not going to mean anything. It only means something, I think, if you're going through it. Okay. This is Shuna's Journey by Hayao Miyazaki. Okay. This was one of my firsts for me, because this is my first kind of manga style. I think this one is kind of considered a graphic novel, but it's also like manga because it has like the squares. And it was my first, let me see if I can show you what I mean. but you have to, of course I'm not going to be able to find it, but oh my gosh. Basically, it's got like squares like manga does, and so they have to be read in a certain order. So because this was a very first for me, I was very confused. First of all, this is my first book where it's like backwards to me. So you're reading it this way. And I did not know the order in which I was supposed to read these, especially when there are a lot of squares involved and I was reading things out of order. So I actually had to go into YouTube and learn how to read manga, which helped a lot. And once I had that down, I picked this back up because I was so confused. And I did enjoy this. And look at the colors. Look at the artwork. It is beautiful. I mean, the artwork is so cool. So basically this follows Prince Shuna, and he's prince of very poor people, and he's tired of watching them struggle with like working so hard to get just a little bit of grain and a little bit of produce from their land. And so someone gives him these seeds, and they're not live, like he can't plant them, but they say, hey, if you get like good seeds, like these seeds specifically, you'll have like such a bountiful harvest. So he goes on a quest to find the origin of these seeds. And so there's just like danger and hardship, and he meets some friends along the way. This was a very different experience for me because I felt like I had more questions than answers. I didn't understand. And I would read this again with a different set of eyes, but originally I was like, what is going on and why are they not telling us what's going on? Like, and this is like a good example, okay? Like in the book, I don't think this is too much of a spoiler, but you know, he ends up in this land. There's these green giants that are walking through, and they're injured. You see, like I don't know if you can really see that, but he's holding on to like this injury, and he's just walking right past him, and he's being followed by all of these animals. And it's just like a very graceful, very peaceful procession through the forest. And then he gets to this clearing, this big giant, and he lays down, and then all of the animals surround him and eat him. And then when they disperse, there's nothing left of this giant, no bones, nothing. It's just peaceful, empty pasture. So yeah, I mean, look, this is what's left, nothing. It's like nothing ever happened. What? So I'm like, that's one of the scenes where I'm like, what happened? Who are these giants? What injured them? Why are they kind of sacrificing themselves to be eaten by animals? Like, what's the purpose? And it doesn't tell you any of it, which I guess I can kind of get, because Shuna is out there on his own. He is just telling you what he's seeing. So if no one's explaining it to him, how's he going to explain it to us? I guess he's just like, hey, this is what I see. Bizarre. I don't know. So I did appreciate this book. I liked it. I would recommend it. It was a quick read. Wonderful. So that's that. Oh. The Heart of the Fae. Oh, Heart of the Fae by Emma Hamm. Guys. Okay, first. I heard of this on, from, I think, Emmy on BookTube. And she just made it sound so good. And I was like, okay. And I listened to it on audio, which I think she did as well, and really highly recommended it. So I listened to the audiobook, and she's right. Like, this transports you into such a magical world. And then, like always, like I had to have like the hard copy. I just loved it so much, and I know I'm going to read this again and again. And then the book that came, oh, I don't know if you can tell how buttery and soft and beautiful this is. Look at this. It is so pretty. I love this book. It's so nice. But basically, it's following, very quick rundown, which is probably not going to do it justice. None of what I say about these books could do any justice. But this is following Sorka, and she is a midwife and a healer, really holding on to the teachings of her mother, who believed in fairies and giving them offerings and respecting the fae and things like that, which a lot of people don't believe in anymore. They think it's a bunch of phooey, but she still believes it. There's a blood beetle plague that's terrorizing and killing everyone in her town, village. I don't know. It's just spreading. Her father now has it, and she makes a deal with a fairy to try to get the cure for this blood beetle plague. And so it sends her off into this secret island world where this fellow here is a prince who was like thrown out of his kingdom, and he's disfigured. All this stuff happens, and it's almost like a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. So fantastic. I can't even explain how fun and how magical this was. I mean, there were gnomes and fairies and magic and healing, and it was love and, oh, what else? I mean, adventure. It was just highly recommend. This one was 5 stars, I tell you. 5 stars for me. Loved it. Highly recommend. Audiobook. I'll probably recommend the audiobook first, because there were a lot of things in here that I would not have known how to pronounce. So I really appreciate the audiobook and how the woman who was narrating the audiobook, she had that like Irish accent, and it just brought this whole thing together. Perfect. I love it. Okay. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson. This was another book recommendation from my colleague Claire, and what can I say about this? This is nonfiction journalism. This is a journalist who, I think it was like 1970, he and his whack job lawyer went to Vegas to cover a race. And this was just an acid trip of a book. I mean, he and this lawyer are an absolute disaster, and they are constantly messed up on drugs and acid, hallucinogenics. And for like maybe the first part of the book, I was cracking up. I was like, these guys are nuts. And I was just, could not stop laughing at how crazy these guys were. But as it went on, I was like, this is not cool. That's when other people were involved, and they were like trashing the hotel and just leaving it a mess, scaring the poor lady who was working in the hotel, and like messing up their rental cars. I don't know. I felt like when other people were involved, I didn't appreciate it as much. But when they were on their own and they were just like a disaster, I thought it was pretty funny. Let me show you one of the things. I'll just go to like one of my tabs where I just tabbed, okay, here's one. This is a short one. It says, hallucinations are bad enough, but after a while you learn to cope with things like seeing your dead grandmother crawling up your leg with a knife in her teeth. This is the kind of stuff they were seeing. It's crazy. Um, would I recommend it? I guess so. If you want something like really bizarre, odd, something. I'm glad I read it. I ended up getting my own copy because I was like, this is too crazy not to have a copy of. So that's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Wow, Claire, you recommended a lot of books because this one also was a recommendation from Claire. This is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. This is actually a classic and one of the greatest, it's a modern classics. This is the Harper Perennial Edition. And this was actually on my list of 100 greatest books ever written. I'm actually working on reading the 100 greatest books ever written, and he recommended this to me, and I was very pleased to see that it was also on that list. So killing two birds with one stone. So this is a book, let's see, 1932 was this written? Either way, so this guy, this is utopian kind of book where they talk about how, so there's like this futuristic world. People are made, not born. They're made specifically in labs. They're grown, and from babies, they're trained and conditioned to be a certain way. And so they control everyone. They make everyone dependent on these drugs. They, they have like different castes and different hierarchy, but everybody's happy being in their own. Even if you're in the lower class, they kind of almost brainwash you to think that you're very happy and everybody's happy. Everything is great. Everything is perfect. Yay. It's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. It's very disturbing, especially when they're giving a tour of the place where they're conditioning babies and toddlers on how to act and what they're, and they're actually shocking these babies. So there's like books and flowers. And if a baby reaches for the books and wants to grab the book, they'll give it a shock. And then if they go over to the flowers, they'll shock them. So the babies will start associating books and flowers and plants with something very unpleasant. So obviously they don't want people to read and have their own minds and learn anything outside of what they're going to teach you. And they didn't want them to have this like love of nature, because they found out that the ones who loved nature didn't contribute so much to the economy. And they say, they would go out there and they wouldn't consume anything. They just wanted to be out in nature and enjoying it. And they said, well, let's not have that. So it's a shame. It was really disturbing. And a lot of these things are not far off from where we are today. So it was really, really disturbing. I ended up getting an accompaniment to this book, a second book, hoping to read it soon. It elaborates a little bit on this. So that's that. I would recommend this. I mean, really, I would read this again. Definitely recommend. Okay. This one was a recommendation from my colleague, Brian. Oh my gosh. All Creatures Great and Small by James Herriot. Guys, this book, this is nonfiction. This is memoirs of this veterinarian, and I adored this book. I know there's like a Netflix series on it now. I haven't watched it. Is it Netflix? I don't know. Or maybe it's regular TV. There's some kind of series on it that I haven't watched any of them. I had never even heard of this until he recommended this book. He just said it was just one of his favorite books, and it was so, oh my gosh, guys, I don't even know. It's so funny. It's so funny. It's so cozy. It's so heartwarming. This just did it for me. This was so sweet. And there were some times, where I cried and I laughed out loud. There was so much. This guy, this veterinarian, his writing is superb. It's fantastic. And he has a couple books, so I'm going to get the other ones as well. But let's see, one of these parts. Okay, oh my goodness. So I'll read you two parts because this is so cute. So he goes to this call, to this old man's house. This old man was widowed, lost his wife. All he had left was their dog. And the dog is super old. It won't get up. The vet goes over there and this guy's like really, really, really poor. But he's like, this dog, my wife loved this dog so much. He's all I have left. But the vet knows that there isn't much hope for this dog and they need to put it down. So basically the guy says, he puts him down and the vet puts him down and the old man says, and now what do I owe you for your services, sir? Oh, that's all right, Mr. Dean, I said quickly. It's nothing, nothing at all. I was passing right by here. It was no trouble. The old man was astonished. But you can't do that for nothing. Now, please, no more about it, Mr. Dean. As I told you, I was passing right by your door. I said goodbye and went out of the house through the passage and into the street. In the bustle of the people and the bright sunshine, I could still see only the stark little room, the old man, and his dead dog. As I walked towards my car, I heard a shout behind me. The old man was shuffling excitedly towards me in his slippers. His cheeks were streaked and wet, but he was smiling. In his hand, he held a small brown object. You've been very kind, sir. I've got something for you. He held out the object and I looked at it. It was tattered, but just recognizable as a piece of relic of a bygone celebration. Go on, it's for you, said the old man. Have a cigar. And then this other on chapter 12, there was this cute, cozy atmosphere that I just really loved. And I'll share that with you. It says, autumn had come with a sharpness in the air, and at nights the log fire burned bright in the big room, sending shadows flickering over the graceful alcoves and up to the high carved ceiling. It was always a good time when the work of the day was through and the three of us lay back in the shabby armchairs and stretched our feet out to the blaze. Tristan was occupied with the Daily Telegraph crossword, which he did every night. Siegfried was reading and I was dozing. The carpet round our feet was hidden by the dogs, all five of them draped over each other in heavy breathing layers and adding to the atmosphere of camaraderie and content. What a cozy. This, guys, 5 stars. Recommend it. Please read this. It's for everybody. Anybody and everybody would just enjoy this. So precious. So precious. Claire, my colleague, this was one of his recommendations as well. This was The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. This is a graphic novel, and this is a very light kind of philosophy kind of book. You can open it to almost any page, and it'll just have some wisdom. So it's following this boy, this mole, fox, and horse, and as they become friends, like they're friends, and they learn from each other, and they talk about some pretty deep things in a very simple way. So this is really cute. So, I mean, look, so it's got a lot of like drawings and sketches. This one says, we all need a reason to keep going, said the horse. What's yours? You 3, said the fox. Getting home, said the boy. Cake, said the mole. So, one of the ones, and this is, it says, sometimes I think you believe in me more than I do, said the boy. You'll catch up, said the horse. It's very cute. I recommend this too. Anybody can read this. Very short, quick, sweet. Little kids, adults, anybody can read this book. Next, oh, this was a new one for me. Okay. Heartstopper. Heartstoppers, volumes 1. Which one is 1? I think this one. The 1 and 2. This was my first experience actually reading a graphic novel. These 2 books I actually borrowed from my daughter, and she watched the Netflix series and wanted the books. I did not watch the Netflix series, did not know anything about the books, but I did. She told me about what it was about. I bought her the first 2 books, and she has volumes 3 and 4 now. But I was just kind of curious because I kept hearing Heartstopper, and it was such a big deal. I was like, what's this about? Whatever. Everybody kept talking about how cute it was. Let me tell you, it was cute. This was really cute. I had never had any interest in reading graphic novels. I didn't think, I'm like, okay, these are like cartoons. So this is, but oh my gosh, so this follows Nick and, oh my gosh, what are their names? Nick and Charlie. So Charlie is an openly gay boy in high school. I think he's in his 10th year, 11th year, high school. And then Nick is in a grade above his. He's like a star rugby player. And so they end up sitting next to each other. I don't know if it's homeroom or in one of the classes, probably homeroom. And so they sit next to each other and they kind of talk and they become friends. And so Nick, asked Charlie, hey, we're short on rugby players. We could use more players. Why don't you try out? Charlie's not athletic. He's just a skinny boy. But he kind of has this crush on Nick. And so he tries out and they just become really good friends. And Charlie has this big crush on Nick, and then you start seeing that Nick kind of looks like he's having a crush on Charlie. And so this is, so cute. It's so cute. There were so many times we were just kind of like rooting for these boys. They're so awkward and so sweet. And this book was so well done. It really talks about kind of coming out, the struggles that some kids are facing with sexuality, whether they're gay, bisexual, trans. All of this is kind of incorporated into these books, and it just really makes this so sweet, and it's so well done. I highly recommend these. So I'm gonna read the next 2 and see how it continues, but I'm very glad I read these, and very sweet. Okay. Look at this. This one is Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol. Look how pretty. Can you see? Oh my gosh. This was a Christmas gift from my special someone. And so I got it for Christmas, and I read it, I think, the day after Christmas. And this was my first time reading the actual original Christmas Carol story. I was impressed. I was really impressed. I love classics. And there was always these reworks of the Christmas Carol. You see them on TV shows, movies, cartoons. There's always this Scrooge. So if you don't know what A Christmas Carol is about, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but this is basically following Ebenezer Scrooge. He's this horribly grumpy old man. He pretty much hates everyone. Everyone pretty much hates him. All he is worried about is making money and doesn't take good care of his employees, doesn't really keep in touch with his family or treat them well. He doesn't have his wife, kids, nobody. It's just him and his miserable self. And so he's visited by spirits on Christmas Eve. Different ghosts. There's a ghost of the past, then he's visited by the ghost of the present, and a ghost of Christmas future. And so it all changes his life and what he thinks and how he feels about everything, and just realizing that, hey, I'm changing. Like this is not going to happen anymore. And he does this drastic change, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's so well done. I'm going to read this every year. I must read this every year. It was so heartwarming. And it's quick. Look, it's not even like a super dense kind of book. And this has some illustrations in it. Let me see if I could find the illustrations. This one, he got this one at Barnes and Noble. What's this version called? And this is what, 1843? Charles Dickens wrote this in 1843. And look at this, like, it's so many years later. What is this? I don't know. But you can see what it looks like. There you go. Beautiful, beautiful, classic book. Speaking of classics, oh God, another first. I finally, so finally got to experience some Jane Austen. So this hefty boy is a collection of 4 of her books. This has Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Emma, and Northanger Abbey. This I got from Barnes and Noble. It was one of their classics collections. Stunning, beautiful book. Gold foil pages. I don't think this does not have the inside. I just love the Barnes and Noble books. But this, I read Sense and Sensibility. What would I say about that? Oh, good Lord. Okay, Sense and Sensibility. That was my first Jane Austen book. Did I like it? Kind of. I liked her writing. She is an exceptional writer, and I was very, very impressed. However, plot-wise, it just seemed like a whole lot of nothing was happening. I was just watching these women prancing around, just prancing around their societal parties and entertaining each other, going to people's houses and visiting and traveling and talking, and nothing really happening. I was 30 chapters into this, and I was still waiting for something to happen. I think it was like in the 30th or 31st chapter that something somewhat interesting happened, and one of the possible engagements that they were expecting would happen was starting to fall apart, I guess. Like, I don't know. It was... So, yes, this book was like 60 chapters. I think it was pretty long. I'm glad I read it because, like, her writing is fantastic. The characters were well developed. Plot-wise, no. Maybe I just didn't get it. I don't know. Then I read Pride and Prejudice right after. Pride and Prejudice. All right, the number one, everybody's talking about it, Pride and Prejudice. I didn't know much about Pride and Prejudice. I never saw the movie, any remakes. I just went into it like, okay, it's got to be famous for a reason. I'm going to read it. Yes. I enjoyed it. And I know everyone's all about Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy, the main characters. However, you know who I liked? Mr. Bennet, Elizabeth's dad. He didn't have a whole lot of time in the book, but he cracked me up. That's like the first character in Pride and Prejudice that just was like, I like this guy. He's funny. He's a trip. So I really liked her dad. And anytime he appeared, and I was just like really impressed with him. Will read it again. I did enjoy Pride and Prejudice. 5 stars. And I look forward to reading some more of Jane Austen because this was very, very, it was good. I was more impressed than I thought I would be. I'm like, oh my gosh, they overhyped this. Oh my gosh, Pride and Prejudice again. Like I keep hearing about it, but no. Would I recommend this to everybody? No. I think you kind of have to have an appreciation for classics, and yeah, I don't know. I don't think everybody would get it. I don't know. You can try it and see how it goes. I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was great. So that's Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility, Jane Austen. Next one. Ooh, oh my gosh. Look at this. This book is absolutely stunning. This, I found out about this from a booktube channel, probably Emmy. And this is a graphic novel, my first one, but it has no words. There's literally no words in any of these pages. So this is basically the story of this man who leaves his country, his wife and child, to go to another country to, I guess, create a better life and start a new life there. And this is art in every sense of the word. The pictures are beautiful. The book is beautiful. It speaks to you. So you're just like looking at it and you're just experiencing the artwork. Words would have taken away from experiencing this book. Honestly, 100%. I guarantee you're going to love this. Anybody's going to love this. I recommend this to everybody. I've recommended it to so many people at work and just in my everyday life. And I've shared it with so many people. And I can't even really explain how a book without words can be so deep and so meaningful and so powerful. Oh my gosh. Like this was, and the artwork, let me find, this is just beautiful. Look, these are very shiny pages, so the glare. I mean, oh my goodness. There's just, and where he ends up, I mean, so he's trying to figure out, he's in another country. He doesn't know the language. He doesn't know the writing. He doesn't know the customs, transportation. The food there is different. The language, everything is completely different. And he's got to figure things out. And so he makes a couple friends along the way that help him. And those people that he befriends were also immigrants, and they kind of share their story of why they came to this other country and what they left behind. And it's very deep, very emotional, very sweet, and it's fantastic. And absolutely 100% fantastic book. Like I said, I've really lucked out with my book choices in the month of December. There was nothing that I read that I did not enjoy. Okay, Sense and Sensibility was borderline. I wasn't looking forward to, like, Pride and Prejudice. I was really looking forward to, like, keep going with that. Sense and Sensibility, it was almost like a chore. I'm just like, okay, let me just get through this book. Let me just get through this book. I'm sure something's going to happen. No. Well written, beautifully done. Not enough happened to make it exciting for me at all. Okay. And then the last book that I read, not in order, but the last book I'm going to mention, I don't have with me. I lent it to my colleague, and that is Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too by Johny. Oh, what can I say about this book? It's, I guess, a graphic novel. I don't know. Oh my gosh. So it's got these beautiful, like just cute, simple drawings. And it's kind of a lot like The Boy, the Fox, the Mole, and the Horse, where it has pieces of philosophical kind of things. Basically, it's following Johny, who is an alien, and his other alien. I don't want to call them friends because they don't seem to like him much. So they send him to Earth. Basically, I think to just get rid of him and get him out of their hair. But they send him to Earth to learn about humans. And so when he comes to Earth, he's interacting with all these things that he thinks are humans. He's talking to a tree. He's talking to an egg. He talks to a bear, a frog. And so he kind of ends up becoming friends with all of these creatures and learning about life and friendship and worry and art, learning what art is, and companionship. And so it's it's really sweet. It's really sweet. I gave it 5 stars. I think it's just fantastic, which is why, you know, I've lent it out to a friend of mine to enjoy, and that's it. So that is it. 15 books. Oh my gosh, this video is going to be so long. So sorry, guys. Oh my gosh. So that's that. I'll make another video some other time about the books that I've read so far in January and what I'm currently reading right now. But I hope you got a couple good recommendations and things that you might be interested in trying. And happy reading. Bye.